She ran. Bare feet slammed against cold marble as the palace doors burst open behind her, guards shouting, metal clashing, voices rising in chaos, but none of it mattered. The sound that echoed louder than all of it was his voice. Stop her. The command cracked through the night like a whip. Vaelthra didn't stop. Her chest burned, her lungs tore, but she ran harder, faster, like the world itself was collapsing behind her. Because it was. Everything she had believed in, her bond, her love, her place, had just been shattered in a single moment she could never unsee. She could still see it. Still hear it. Still feel it. Her hand trembled violently as she pressed it against her chest, as though she could rip the memory out of her heart. But it wouldn't leave. Nothing would. Just moments ago, she had walked into the royal chamber, her heart soft, her spirit hopeful. She had gone to him, to her mate, her king, with nothing but trust in her eyes. And then she saw him. Zyreth. The Alpha King. The man who had marked her beneath the sacred moon. The man who had sworn, "You are mine, Vaelthra. No power in this realm will ever take you from me." He had been standing there, his back turned, his voice low, intimate. And he was not alone. Another woman stood before him. Not just any woman. Her sister. Vaelthra's breath had hitched, confusion twisting into dread as she stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. Zyreth. He turned. Slowly. And there had been no guilt in his eyes. No shock. No regret. Only cold, calculating indifference. Her sister, Vaelthra, smiled. That smile. Sharp. Victorious. Cruel. Perfect timing, Vaelthra had said softly, her fingers still resting against the king's chest. You should hear this. Vaelthra's heart had begun to pound violently. Hear what? Zyreth didn't hesitate. Didn't soften. Didn't even step away from Vaelthra. I am dissolving our bond, he said. Just like that. The words sliced through her like a blade. No. Vaelthra shook her head, stumbling back. No, you don't mean that. I do. Her voice broke. Why? Vaelthra laughed softly, circling closer. Because you were never meant to sit beside a king. Vaelthra's gaze snapped to her sister. You. I am stronger. Smarter. Worthier, Vaelthra continued, her voice dripping with poison. And he finally sees it. Vaelthra turned back to Zyreth, desperate, searching his face for something, anything. Tell her she's lying, she whispered. Tell her this is a mistake. Silence. Then. She's not lying. The world tilted. No. Vaelthra's voice trembled violently. Zyreth, we are mates. You chose me. You marked me. And I unchoose you. The words were final. Merciless. I have no need for weakness at my side. Her knees nearly gave out. Weakness. Vaelthra leaned closer, her lips near Vaelthra's ear. You should thank me, sister. I did what you never could. I satisfied a king. Something inside Vaelthra broke. Not shattered. Not cracked. Broken beyond repair. Her wolf howled, a raw, agonizing sound that echoed in her soul as the bond between her and Zyreth tore apart like fragile thread. She gasped, clutching her chest. Please. Don't do this. Zyreth's gaze remained cold. Leave. That single word ended everything. No one moved to stop her as she staggered backward, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Not in front of them. Not in front of her. Vaelthra's laughter followed her. Zyreth said nothing. And that silence hurt more than anything. Now, as Vaelthra ran into the darkness beyond the palace walls, the bond fully severed, pain surged through her body in waves so violent she nearly collapsed. But she didn't. She couldn't. "I won't break," she whispered through gritted teeth. "Not for him. Not for anyone." The night swallowed her whole. And just like that, she vanished. Days blurred into nights. Nights into endless suffering. Vaelthra wandered through forests that did not know her name, through lands that did not care for her pain. Hunger clawed at her stomach. Exhaustion dragged at her limbs. But none of it compared to the emptiness inside her chest. The absence. The silence. The bond that once connected her to Zyrieth was gone, and yet the wound it left behind refused to close. She collapsed near a riverbank one evening, her body trembling uncontrollably. Her vision spun as she pressed her hands against the earth, gasping for air. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't keep going." A sharp pain suddenly ripped through her abdomen. Vaelthra froze. Another wave hit, stronger this time. Her breath caught. "What is this?" Her hands moved instinctively to her stomach. And then it hit her. The realization. The truth. Her eyes widened in horror. "No." Her voice shook violently. "No, no, this can't be." Tears finally spilled down her cheeks as she curled forward, her entire body trembling. "I'm pregnant." The word felt unreal. Impossible. Yet deep inside, she felt it. 2 heartbeats. Not 1. 2. Her breath hitched. Twins. A broken laugh escaped her lips, turning quickly into a sob. "He destroyed me," she whispered. "And still, he left me with this." Her hands tightened protectively over her stomach. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, something shifted. Her tears stopped. Her breathing steadied. Her grip softened. "They didn't ask for this," she murmured, her voice trembling but resolute. "They didn't choose him. Or what he did to me." A flicker of strength ignited in her chest. Small. Fragile. But real. "I won't let them suffer for his sins." She pushed herself up slowly, her legs shaking but holding. "I will survive," she whispered. "For them." The wind howled through the trees as though the world itself was bearing witness. Vaelthra lifted her chin, her eyes no longer filled with despair, but something far more dangerous. Determination. "They will never know weakness," she vowed. "They will never beg for love." Her voice hardened. "And they will never bow to him." Far away, in a kingdom that had already begun to forget her name, the Alpha King sat upon his throne, unaware that the legacy he had cast aside was still alive. Still growing. And one day, it would return. The years did not pass gently. They carved Vaelthra into something unrecognizable. Gone was the soft-spoken mate who once believed in love and loyalty. In her place stood a woman forged by survival, sharpened by pain, and strengthened by purpose. Her children grew beneath her watchful gaze. 2 souls. 2 forces. 2 storms waiting to be unleashed. Vaelthra stood at the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping her dark hair across her face as she watched them below. Again, she called out. A boy no older than 7 snarled, his small frame trembling with effort as he faced a massive rogue wolf twice his size. "I said again," Vaelthra repeated, her voice cold. The boy bared his teeth. "I'm not weak." "Then prove it." With a roar, he lunged forward. And the rogue wolf was thrown backward as though struck by an invisible force. Vaelthra's eyes narrowed. Power. Raw. Uncontrolled. And terrifying. The girl stepped forward next, her expression calm, almost eerily so. Her eyes glowed faintly as she raised her hand. Enough, she said quietly. The rogue wolf froze. Completely. Utterly. As if the world itself had bent to her command. Vaelthra exhaled slowly. They're evolving faster than I expected. She murmured. The boy turned toward her, his chest rising and falling. Mother. Why do they fear us? Vaelthra's gaze softened just slightly. Because, she said, they can feel what you are becoming. The girl tilted her head. And what is that? Vaelthra's eyes darkened. Something even kings will kneel before. The wind howled louder. And far beyond the safety of their hidden world. A storm was beginning to rise. The wind shifted. Vaelthra felt it before she saw it, the subtle tremor in the air, the way the forest stilled as if something ancient had just awakened. Her eyes lifted slowly from the twins, narrowing toward the distant horizon. They're close, she murmured. Kale's head snapped up instantly, his expression sharpening. Enemies? Naira didn't move, but the faint glow in her eyes intensified. No, not just enemies. Vaelthra's jaw tightened. She had spent years hiding, building strength in silence, avoiding the world that had discarded her like nothing. But she had always known this moment would come. There's no more running, she said quietly. Kale stepped forward, his voice firm. We were never running. A flicker of something dangerous crossed Vaelthra's face. Pride. Yes, she said. You were preparing. Naira turned her gaze toward her mother. Is it him? Silence stretched between them. Vaelthra didn't answer immediately, but she didn't need to. They already knew. The kingdom of Vreshel had changed. Where power once stood unshaken, cracks now spread like fractures across a dying throne. The people whispered more than they obeyed. The nobles watched more than they trusted. And on the throne, Zyreth sat alone. The crown rested on his head, but it felt heavier than ever. His sharp gaze scanned the court before him, yet nothing he saw held meaning anymore. Not power. Not loyalty. Not even victory. A voice broke through the silence. Your Majesty, the borders grow unstable. Rogues have begun gathering again. Zyreth's expression didn't shift. Then crush them. They're not ordinary rogues, another added cautiously. They follow something. Someone. That caught his attention. Zyreth leaned forward slightly. Explain. The noble swallowed. Reports say there are 2 of them. Children. But no one can stand before them. Entire packs submit without a fight. A strange, unfamiliar sensation twisted in Zyreth's chest. Children? He repeated. Yes, Your Majesty. The air grew heavier. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his mind. A memory. A name. A woman. Vaelthra. His fingers tightened around the arm of his throne. Impossible. She's gone, he muttered under his breath. But the feeling wouldn't leave. That emptiness. That lingering ache he had buried for years. It stirred again. Zyreth rose to his feet in one fluid motion. Prepare my forces. The court froze. Your Majesty. I will see this for myself. The gates of Vreshel trembled as they opened. The guards stood frozen, their instincts screaming in warning as 3 figures approached from the distance. A woman. And 2 children. But there was nothing ordinary about them. Vaelthra walked forward without hesitation, her presence alone enough to send unease rippling through the air. Her dark cloak flowed behind her like a shadow, her eyes cold, unreadable. Beside her, Kale's gaze burned with restrained fury, while Naira's calm silence felt far more terrifying than any roar. "State your name," a guard demanded, though his voice wavered. Vaelthra didn't slow. "You already know it." The guard's breath caught. And then it hit him. Recognition. Fear. "Vaelthra," he whispered. The name spread like wildfire. "It's her. She's alive. She came back." But Vaelthra didn't look at them. Her eyes were fixed on one place. The throne. Zyriath felt her before he saw her. That same presence. That same pull. But stronger. Far stronger. His heart slammed violently against his chest as the great doors opened. And there she stood. Not broken. Not weak. Not the woman he remembered. Vaelthra had returned as something else entirely. Their eyes met. Time seemed to stop. For the first time in years. Zyriath felt something crack within him. Vaelthra. Her name left his lips like a ghost. She didn't bow. Didn't lower her gaze. Didn't show even a flicker of emotion. "You remember me," she said coldly. Zyriath stepped down from the throne, his voice tightening. "I never forgot." A sharp, humorless smile touched her lips. "And yet, you let me disappear." The court held its breath. Zyriath's gaze darkened. "You left." "I was dismissed," she corrected. "Like something worthless." Each word struck harder than the last. Silence fell. Then, a surge of power exploded through the room. Kale stepped forward. "Don't speak to her like that." Every wolf in the hall stiffened as dominance rolled off him, raw, overwhelming, impossible. Zyriath's eyes snapped toward the boy. And then to the girl beside him. Naira's glowing gaze met his without fear. Something inside him shifted violently. Recognition. Not logical. Not rational. But undeniable. "Who are they?" Zyriath demanded, his voice lower now. Vaelthra's expression didn't change. But her next words shook the kingdom. "They are yours." The room erupted into chaos. "That's impossible." "Twins? The king's heirs?" Zyriath didn't hear any of it. All he saw were them. The boy. The girl. Their eyes. Their presence. Their power. His blood. His breath came slower now, heavier. "Why? Didn't you tell me?" Vaelthra's laugh was quiet, but it carried more pain than any scream. "Tell you?" she repeated. "The man who cast me aside like I meant nothing." Zyriath stepped closer. "You should have come back." Her eyes flashed dangerously. "So you could reject them too." That stopped him. Completely. Kale's voice cut in sharply. "We didn't come here for you." Zyriath's gaze snapped to him. "Then why are you here?" Naira answered this time, her voice calm but chilling. "To end what you started." Before anyone could react, a scream tore through the hall. "Velmyra." She stumbled forward, her face twisted with rage and fear. "This is a lie. They're not his." Naira turned her gaze toward her slowly. And smiled. Velmyra froze. Her body locked in place, her voice cut off instantly as if invisible chains had wrapped around her throat. "You talk too much," Naira said softly. Panic filled Velmyra's eyes as she struggled, but she couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The court erupted again. Witchcraft. No, something worse. Vaelthra didn't move. Didn't intervene. She simply watched. Zyriath's voice cut through the chaos. Release her. Naira tilted her head. Why? Because I said so. For a moment, the air itself seemed to tremble. Then Kale stepped forward. No. The single word carried more authority than it should have. Zyrieth felt it. That challenge. That defiance. That power. Something ancient stirred deep within his bloodline. You dare defy me? Zyrieth growled. Kale met his gaze without flinching. You are not my king. The words hit like a thunderclap. Silence followed. Then, Velmyra suddenly collapsed, gasping for air as Naira released her. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Zyrieth turned slowly back to Vaelthra. What do you want? He asked. Vaelthra stepped forward at last. Her presence alone silenced the entire hall. I didn't come for revenge, she said. Zyrieth's brows furrowed. Then why? Her eyes locked onto his. I came so you could see them. A pause. So you could understand what you threw away. The weight of her words settled heavily over him. Years of silence. Years of absence. Years of loss. All crashing down at once. Before he could respond, a sudden explosion rocked the palace. The walls trembled as a violent force tore through the outer gates. Attack! Someone screamed. Rogues. Hundreds of them. But they weren't attacking blindly. They were coming for something. For someone. Kale's eyes narrowed. They followed us. Vaelthra's expression hardened. No, they were waiting. The ground shook again. The palace was under siege. Zyrieth's instincts took over instantly. Guards, form ranks. But before he could finish, a rogue lunged straight toward Naira. Zyrieth moved without thinking. He intercepted it mid-air, his claws tearing through its throat in one clean strike. Blood splattered across the floor. Silence followed. Naira blinked. Slowly. You protected me, she said. Zyrieth's breath was heavy, his voice rough. You are my daughter. Kale stepped forward instantly, fury flashing in his eyes. You don't get to claim us now. Zyrieth met his gaze. I'm not asking for permission. The tension snapped. But there was no time. More rogues flooded in. Chaos erupted. Vaelthra moved like a storm unleashed, her power cutting through enemies with lethal precision. Kale fought beside her, wild and unstoppable. Naira stood still. And the battlefield bent around her. Rogues froze. Collapsed. Turned on each other. The war ended almost as quickly as it began. Silence fell once more. Smoke curled through the air. Bodies littered the ground. And in the center of it all, they stood. Unbroken. Untouchable. Zyrieth looked at them, truly looked at them, and something inside him shifted forever. This kingdom, he said slowly, that it belongs to you. Vaelthra's eyes narrowed. No, she said. Zyrieth stilled. I don't want your throne, she continued. I don't want your crown. She stepped closer, her voice low, powerful. I wanted you to feel what I felt. A pause. To understand what it means to lose everything. Zyrieth's chest tightened. And now you do. Vaelthra turned away. Come, she said to the twins. Kale didn't hesitate. Naira glanced back once, just once, before following. Zyrieth stood there, unmoving. Watching them leave. Again. But this time. He understood. He didn't stop them. Didn't call out. Didn't command. Because for the first time in his life, the Alpha King knew he had no power over what truly mattered. And as Vaelthra disappeared beyond the gates, her children at her side, her voice echoed softly in the wind. You didn't lose a mate. You lost a legacy. If this story touched you, if you felt her pain, her strength, then don't just scroll away. Drop a comment and tell me, should Vaelthra ever forgive the Alpha King? Or is some betrayal too deep to heal? And if you want more powerful stories like this, stories of love, betrayal, and rising from nothing, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next story might be even darker.